Hello, everyone. Today, my guest is Danny Kardhashi, a freshman at Rice University. Today, we talk about a variety of topics related to the art of social dynamics, how to navigate them, and how to identify real friends. We talk about a variety of concepts, such as the bubble, where your entire sense of reality is shaped by your immediate surroundings, and the skill of individual thinking, which allows you to be free from the societal expectations. We also talk about the importance of having a central core purpose or mission to guide you in your efforts, as it allows for all the pillars of your life to be aligned to that central mission. Enjoy. Danny Kardhashi, how are you doing today, man?
Good, bro. How you doing?
Doing good. So how's it feel being back in New Jersey?
It was different. I'm not gonna lie. When I came back like, the first night, it's kind of trippy because I haven't been here in like 3.5 months now. So it was interesting seeing everything, just like getting used to living at college and stuff. So
Yeah, how's that been for you? I mean, it feels mad different probably, right?
yeah, no, it's a completely different type of. It's a different experience. It's like you're kind of on your own, like in a good way. I really enjoyed it. You kind of have like more liberty and stuff, like freedom to do stuff. Really are just like living your own life, at college, especially being far away. I feel like when you're closer and you can kind of have you can come back because obviously I'm in Houston, that's like 3 hour flight. So like obviously it's the first time I came back. So it's a different experience, like kind of just being more independent and like making your own decisions and doing stuff. But I've been really enjoying it. So yeah.
That's cool, man. What do you think are some of the best parts about being down in Texas? It's a pretty cool
Yeah.
spot, Rice University and everything. So tell
Yeah.
me how that's been, bro.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, for like location wise, it's like the weather is really good. At the start of the year, obviously, it was like super hot. It was like unbearable for like 2, 3 weeks, but cooled down. Now it's like, what is it, like end of November, like last week of November, and it's still like low 70s, high 60s. Like it's nice weather. So definitely way nicer here temperature wise. I was in New York last night. Even here in Hightstown, it's like freezing. It's like 30s. It don't really does not get down like below 50s at all, like now.
Yeah.
And then like also like Texas is like a different type of it's like its own country. Like each like city is like a different state. Like going from Austin to Houston. I visited Austin. I haven't been to Dallas, San Antonio, even like College Station yet, but they're like they're like 3 hour drive. So it's interesting seeing all these different cities, but they're all like in Texas. But it's cool. I've never been to Texas either, so it was a nice experience.
Yeah. Do you like the cold at all though? Because I know like some people like really love New Jersey cold. So people just
Yeah.
hate it.
I
So what's
mean,
your
I have one of my roommates, he's also from Jersey. He Bro, he like loves the cold. He's like, oh, like we were in Jersey City last night. He was like, oh, the cold, like I miss it. Blah blah. I was like, like low-key, it was nice, like walking around New York and like I had like my jacket on. I was like, okay, a little nostalgic in that sense. Like it's cool, but like overall, like I like the like moderate like 60s. Like right now, it's like perfect. Like you can kind of low 70s. You can like pick if you want to wear shorts or sweatpants. Like it's like that type of weather. Like it's nice, but
yeah.
so like a little bit, but like I do kind of want to go back and get that nice temperature. So.
Yeah, you're heading back tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm heading back
Yeah.
tomorrow
Over
morning.
Thanksgiving, family and I went down to Virginia, like Shenandoah area, just go hiking and things like that. And it was
Mm.
cold over there, bro. Like we'd be hiking
Really?
with like puffer jackets and everything, but it was still fun.
Uh,
I mean, I personally I really love the cold. There's
yeah,
something about it. Like that's why I think living in like New Jersey, even like the New England areas, like that those rotations in the hot, the cold, like, you get kind of the whole experience. So, I
yeah,
fuck with it here, but I think, as you know, I'm applying to Duke
yeah,
for North Carolina area. It's going to be pretty nice weather year round. But
yeah,
Rice, it was honestly between Duke and Rice for me. I mean, I know Rice is like an amazing campus and everything, and the
yeah,
people there are amazing. So
yeah,
it's cool, man.
yeah.
So I know that last time we haven't talked in a while. Last time we really talked was probably springtime when you're
Yeah.
here, senior year. And I remember like one of the main conversations we had together was we were sitting outside of Green, I think, and we were
Oh, the math homework. That's so
yeah, we're
funny.
working on that Montgomery math
Yeah,
homework, the problem
yeah,
set, right? And I
yeah.
think we shared a similar experience
Mm-hmm,
more going back to our junior year about
hmm.
this idea of, you feeling like you're in this very social scene. You feel like you have so many people around you and that makes you feel great. But then all of a sudden there might be a mistake you make or something that happens out of your control that kind of pulls you out of that zone for a period of
Hmm.
time. You enter this state of like, people you can see like outcasted, people might say canceled,
Sure.
whatever. But you know, it's it's something that I feel like a lot of people experience, I think. And it's hard to understand, like, first of all, why it happens, how it happens, like what does it feel like, and how do you kind of overcome that? So I know
Hmm.
you've probably spent a lot of time reflecting on this because it's been like 2 years since then for
Yeah.
you. So I
Hmm.
guess reflecting back on that moment, like what are some things like how does it feel like? Why do you think these kind of things happen to people and how do we overcome that?
Yeah, I think a lot of most of these things are just kind of like the way society, and I'm talking society, I'm saying society, but more like let's say petty to be more specific, or like, but it's definitely generalized to society. There's like how people work, like there is just like a human nature need to like want to fit in. Like that's just like how it is, right? You want to be with the status quo, you want to like be on the same page as people, right? You don't want to be different. So like if there's a conflict of interests like between like being with or like let's say picking one thing versus picking what most people are picking, so like in the social sense like friends and people and stuff like that, right? There's like obviously a human like necessity or want to like be with the status quo, so you're not really gonna, it's gonna be way difficult, more difficult for people to kind of like go against that, especially in these scenarios. So I would say like a lot of that boils down to like your own morals, because like generally speaking it's not gonna, the default is gonna be go with what other people say, so you kind of have to do your own thinking and like analyzing to really know what's going on in the situation. That's like what people lack, I'd say, or choose to ignore, I feel like, in a lot of those scenarios, right? um so I feel like nowadays, like especially with like social media, things like that, like a lot of culture like to, I don't want to say cancel culture, because like a lot of these scenarios aren't like canceled and stuff. It's more like just like different, like othering is like a better way to say it, right? But there's like a quicker, like rapid fire decision to just like jump on like, a train to like go be with everyone else versus like understanding what's going on and thinking about it, making your own moral decisions, going with your values, right? So I think that that's like the difference that's like happening nowadays, where you're not seeing that as much, and like definitely can relate to a lot of kids at Petty or anywhere, honestly. And it's not even about canceling, not the right word, I feel like, but like kind of just like choosing in a social culture, especially in high school, right? Okay, it's high school. Like kids are going to be changing friend groups. It's like you have so many factors. Like you have classes, you have like friends, you have like relationships, you have like clubs, you have like sports. Like there's so many factors that like, especially at a small school, like you're gonna like everyone's gonna be connected. It's like a web, right? If you go to like one of these like if you're going like a 900,000 person public school, you don't even know most like half people in your grade. Like even over 4 years, you're not gonna meet everyone in your grade. When you go to 130, 140 max student grade at Petty, like you know every person, even if you don't know them well, you know who they are, you know how they relate to people, you know like stuff like that. So it definitely exacerbates that idea of like othering and stuff like that. I'm at a smaller school like Petty. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think the herd mentality can get scary, right? I think in our DNA, just how we evolved to live, we're so reliant on other people to survive that if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
tribe like millions of years, not millions, probably like 100,000 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
if the tribe doesn't like you, you'll die, right?
Yeah.
The way like all our circuits in our body, everything has been evolved to live is for the sake of other people, which is why
Right.
everyone you see around you is like will kind of just outsource like themselves, their beliefs, like how they carry themselves to the crowd, like whatever they do is what I do, right?
Right.
But it seems here that the this idea of being different, this idea of like having this belief that might be a little bit different from the crowd's belief, or
Mm-hmm.
doing this thing that's not conventional, a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
It's a rare thing you see nowadays, but I feel like there's something unique about it that some people possess that kind of helps them guide them away from the crowd's beliefs. So I guess
Yeah.
in your experience, like what are some examples of times where you've maybe come away from the crowd's belief and
Sure, sure,
had more
sure.
of like a unique belief, or do you
Yeah.
see that ever play out?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely applicable in like so many scenarios. But I would say like, I said like main things. There's like a lot of scenarios. I feel like there's some common ones that you see that I've seen. Like, I mean, socially is like where you're gonna obviously see this most, right? Like, there's probably minimal examples in like academics, sports, and stuff like that. I'm thinking about in school atmosphere, but definitely socially, you're gonna see that the most. There's a lot of things similarities to this with like partying. There's like a really big one. I would definitely say, especially I've been keen on like taking a step back and like think about my own values, like not necessarily doing stuff for other people or because other people want to, and not really judging people, but you're having your own decisions. Like it's not that. I think there's like a lot of peer pressure is a big thing. I mean, yeah, we like there's like people joke about it, and there's like talks at school, and it's like okay, like they're kind of corny sometimes, but like there's definitely like an idea there, right, of like not succumbing to peer pressure, stuff like that. I was like partying, stuff like that. Things related to that are a really big one. I would say like friends, like just friend groups. Like there's so many people that have like interpersonal conflicts in friend groups, and like it might be things not related to you, it might be things related to you. It's really gauging that. Like there's definitely a ton of times where I've seen like both sides of the coin of like, oh, like someone's friend did X and X to a different person that they had no relation to, but maybe it's like thinking morally thinking like, oh, like, well, I don't want to be a type of friend that does that, or I don't want to be friends with the person who did that, even if it wasn't to me. But there's also the other side where it's like something that they did to someone else that has like no relation and it's not really me thing, and then like people want to like create chasms or stuff like that in friend groups because of that, right? And this is like high school stuff, right? This is like you see this all the time, right? So those are like big things where like I feel like I've like taken a step back sometimes and like thought about like, okay, like what do I care about and like what do I think about versus like what are the other people doing? Because just because these people want to be friends with this person doesn't mean that I necessarily want to eat too, or like the other way around. Like if they don't want to be friends with this person, doesn't mean that I don't, you know what I'm saying? So making your own decision in that sense. But I mean, definitely in high school when it's small, like I said, like petty, like there's like a bigger like risk and reward there. I feel like I was lucky though. I had like some good friends that like were on the same page with me with a lot of these things, and not even necessarily these things on the mentality of these things of like understanding what I'm saying right now about like thinking about this person and analyzing it or analyzing what's going on and not just doing stuff to do them right. So like having like steadfast friends, that's like something that can definitely help because like it's definitely rarer, I would say, to like find like those types of people like nowadays. So yeah.
This concept you bring up about these interpersonal connection and these like problems within friendships, right? Like this person's gossiping about what he did, and like, oh, did you see what this guy did? And that ruined the whole friendship, right? You know,
Right.
it's very petty stuff. And I think when your experience is petty, it seems like it's been there a lot, right? Maybe in friendships and groups you've been in the past.
Mhm.
Something I realized this summer is that petty is a very small world,
Mm.
right? And you know, it has like 544 kids. And I kind of thought that like petty, this small group of people, it was my entire world because it's the only kind of people I've
Mm.
ever been
Yeah,
around,
it's a
right?
bubble.
Yeah, the bubble. So you kind of just get used to the way people act. You think that's
Mhm.
how people might be. But when I went for my EXP lab, I went to New Hampshire. New Hampshire's beautiful. Like when I was there, you know, I made like I was talking to a whole different group of people there at my lab or at the gym, or you know, when I was going out, we went hiking a lot to the White Mountains and in Maine. And you know, I was exposed to like so many different types of people that I never even knew kind of existed, right? Like these kind of people I always imagined in my mind that I wish that people like this existed, you know,
Mhm.
people that are straight up, you know, people that you can kind of just click with and relate to and talk about. And I think that the grad student I was working with like was a perfect example of this. Like we had so many similarities, we had so many like common interests and things like that. He also wrestled, and you know, he loved to go fishing, so we go fishing every now and then. And it opened my eyes that you kind of get stuck in the bubble and it's the limited worldview that, oh, everyone's gossiping here, everyone's like this. And I'm not trying to say petty's a bad place, but it's that sometimes you can get caught up in the bubble no matter where you are, if it's a small
Yeah.
group of people, right? Would you say when you came out of petty, you've gone to rice, it's kind of opened your eyes like, oh my
That's
God, this whole
actually crazy. It is actually crazy. This is like a bit, well, they did the biggest thing. Like it's like Rice objectively is a smaller school, right? It's like 4,500 kids. And like I can honestly say like it's starting to feel small now, which is crazy because like you're at Petty like 130 kids. Like I was used to that. But like my grade is literally 10 times. It's like 1,200, like 1,300 kids. So, but like I'm meeting so many people and like I like it's and like I love Petty. Like don't get me wrong, I love Petty. Like I'm really glad I went to Petty. I had a good experience. But like nowadays, sometimes I look back on some of these things at Petty, or like I see like some kids like posting stuff at Petty, and I'm just like, bro, like what? Like what were we doing? Like what is this, bro? Like it feels so like middle school sometimes. Like no, not hating on Petty, right? But just like going out and like exploring, especially being far away, completely meeting a new complete set of people. Like, you know, all like just new friends, like new friend groups, different people, like in all these aspects, right? Don't get me wrong, I still talk to all my a bunch of my really close petty friends, but like hanging out and like being with other people, like you get such a different world. Like you really like it's not even like you're thinking differently about everything. Your values change, right? But like you're just having different experiences. Like you're talking to these kids who just like had completely different experiences with you. Like my like best friends like are like my roommates, right? Like I have four roommates, like two of my other good friends in my college, and like I talk to them about certain things about like high school experiences, things that have happened to us in the past, all these different stuff. And they're completely different. It's like you're looking at like completely different people, right? Different backstories. But like at the same time, when we're hanging out and like doing stuff, like it's just like a normal friend group, but you're like getting so much perspective just hearing about like small things like different high school traditions, cultural differences, because people are from across the world. So I think that like that's really big and like it's something hard to explain until you really go out and see it yourself.
Yeah,
But yeah,
100%. Would you say that the pettiness you described before about this interpersonal like relationships and the gossip, do you think that's carried over, or do you think you've kind of found people that maybe are more away from that, or is this like something that's always there in human nature, or do you feel like the new people you found are kind of different in that way, that there's less maybe gossiping, less like these kind of conflicts between the relationships?
honestly, I think that that is always going to be prevalent no matter where you go, no matter like stuff like that. Because that's just kind of like also human nature in a sense, like talking about other people, gossiping is like a general like umbrella phrase, right? But definitely like people are more mature. I mean, people are older, right? Also, like think about it in the sense that I'm a freshman now, so I'm like at the bottom of the food chain. So like talking to other people who are in college as well, like it's just like it's just like you kind of see the immaturity in a lot of these things. So people generally speaking, right? There's obviously cases. People generally speaking have a tendency to see the immaturity and then like kind of look down on it like okay, like that's middle school, that's high school, like come on, let's be mature. So
Yeah,
definitely less so, but that's always prevalent. I've definitely seen that too at Rice.
these things carry over. Makes sense. And you also like going back to something you mentioned before, like the partying thing, right? That you didn't say it explicitly, but I'm assuming you maybe like stepped away from that kind of whole scene. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to me through that. It's like, what are like, so first of all, did you like step away from the party scene, or like, when you mentioned party, like, what did you mean by that?
Yeah. So in high school, definitely for at least the first 3 quarters of high school, I really did not. I never partied or anything like that. I was definitely not keen on anything like that. Not that like it was a bad thing. It just like wasn't really what I was very interested in. Obviously, as I grow older, senior year, I was definitely more interested in the social gatherings, partying, things like that. Um, and I had a lot of fun with that. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't like anything crazy. I was never really like big on that stuff. In college is very different. There's a culture, right? I mean, Rice is like really good in the sense that I am very glad. I'm not interested in Greek life or anything at all. And Rice is no Greek life. It's completely built into residential college system. Really nice. They're really good about like regulations and partying and stuff like that. So definitely, I've had a lot of fun like going out with my friends and doing stuff at Rice because I've like been more mature to like make decisions and like know what's going on, not just like following everyone else to go to this party and do this and do X and this and that. And I still make my own decisions. Like I'm not always gonna go out every time my friends go out. I've stayed in a lot of times. So it's really just like doing what you want to do, not what everyone else wants to do. And it's never like looking down on people who are gonna go out all the time or people that don't go out, right? It's just different ways of living, different mindset, different interests. But I think having the maturity to make those decisions yourself versus like letting other people dictate your life is partying in the life of partying, right?
Right.
Um, is something that's like important, I think.
Hmm. And considering that most people are kind of on autopilot, a lot of people are kind of just following the script and doing what everyone around them is doing. How do you think
Mhm.
you've accessed that maybe individual thinking piece or skill, right? I think it is definitely a skill you can level up over time, this idea to just think for yourself and make your own decisions. Like for those people who might like not be in that zone, like what kind of
Sure.
advice would you give them to kind of like step out of that, or how can you develop that skill over time?
I think that a lot of people are just kind of are just very used to that, right? Like you're just gonna okay, like I'll do this if this person does this. And like, it's not like that's always a bad thing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, like if my friend X goes out, then I'll go out because I don't feel like going out without them, right? But more of in the general sense of what you're getting at, right? I think that it's just like being conscious, and it's not that it's complicated. It's just like thinking to yourself, like each time, or like when you have that decision to make. Oh, do I want to go out or do I want to do work? Well, I actually want to go out, but I mean, I actually want to do work, but and everyone else is going out, so I feel like I should go out. Like it's just like weighing that, like okay, like if you really think that it's going to benefit you to go out and you're going to have a good time, but you also actually have to do work and you want to do the work. Let's say you really don't want to go out. There's no point of forcing yourself to make that decision at the time, right? Because people are always going to have different interests. Not always, but there's like always be conflict of interest at times. So I think like the main thing is like being conscious about what you're doing, like decision making. And the second thing is like knowing your friends. That's like a really big thing, is like knowing the types of people that your friends are. I'll say that like everyone's bad or anything, but no, just like understanding like friends and like making good friends in the sense that like, and I think one of the misconceptions people might have is like good friends are people that like have the same interests as you, which I just feel like is not true. Like especially at Rice, you're meeting a lot of people from different places, different interests. But I have good friends that different majors, different athletic interests, different art interests, different music interests, different like social interests. But like knowing who they are and what their values are, right? And like that's like a big thing, because you might have someone, I've seen this like a lot, like you'll have a really good friend, people have really good friends that share the same social like partying interests and like certain small interests like that. But then when it comes down to like things that like you talk to as friends or friendship things or like respect things or things like that, like there's definitely like big problems where you're like, okay, like I see like this is not really like, this might be like a little toxic of a friendship or relationship, right? But those moments of like going out and stuff like that might temporarily cover that up, and then you kind of get into these problems when you have like bigger issues that are actually more meaningful of like the people that you chose to be friends with. So I feel like having good friends and making friends, and also like being friends with people you actually like, is a big thing. I had like a big problem with this the first week of school. Actually, I was so there's five of me and my roommates. We had one other friend who we met during orientation, who we became close friends with at first. And because he was like kind of really chill, like we had some interests, kind of as the days progressed during this first week, we kind of like, he was saying some things that were a bit questionable, and like we were kind of getting a weird vibe from him about certain things that we didn't really mess with. And then this kind of like was exaggerated and accelerated. And then at the end of the week, kind of had this talk, like us five roommates were like, guys, like, I'm not gonna lie. Me and my friend Julian were like, yo, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't like this kid. Like, he gives me the things he's saying, I don't really agree with, things like that. And we kind of made this decision. Like, we all kind of were on the same page, it was unspoken a little bit. And we kind of just like didn't really want to be friends with him because we don't want to associate ourselves with someone like that. So, like, I feel like a lot of people would have been like very not keen on doing that, or just would rather just stay friends to not have issues. But I was glad that like my friends had like said something about it that I agreed with, so we could all make a decision to be mature and like actually think about, do we actually want to be friends with this person? Like, do they have values that we want to share? Because a lot of times you just like might meet with someone that seems chill at first, and then when you really get to know them, you have second thoughts, and that usually is something that you should act on. I feel like is a lot of people might not be as keen on. So I was glad that my current friends at Rice made that decision. Like, that was good. Like, that also made me respect them more and know that, kind of reaffirm like their values and morals. So I think that was like a big thing that helped.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's cool how it kind of came together like a town hall meeting here
No,
deciding like
it was so. My friend literally walked in, and like, so three or four of us were sitting down on the couches just chilling, like we were like watching some TV or playing like FIFA or something. And our friend looks, and he's like, guys, like, I'm not gonna lie, like I just don't like this kid. Like, I don't know, I get really bad like vibes from him. And we're all like, yo, like me too. Like we're all like, so it was like but it was like not, it was nice. We like all talked about it, and like it was nice that like they shared the same ideas and like we're on the same page and like we all talked about it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that kind of shows that you guys probably are a pretty strong group, right? The fact that you
Yeah.
kind of have like the same mindsets about it, right?
Mhm.
And I think that piece you mentioned before, that you don't always have to have friends with the same interests. I do
Mhm.
agree with that as well. And I do talk to a lot of people at Petty, and I always thought there was some sense of distance because there wasn't someone who like was exactly similar to me. And I
Right.
thought that I don't know why I had this mindset for so long, but I felt that I needed someone who was exactly like me to feel that real connection. And
Mhm.
interestingly enough, a couple weeks ago, there's actually a new junior at Petty, and
Mhm.
he also wrestles. And when I started talking to him, we realized like we were actually really similar.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I could talk more about that, but there's so many different like maybe like ways we live our life and things like that that we do that are actually so
Yeah.
much similar than I thought. And
Right.
it was definitely a good feeling that shit, like there's someone like me to connect with, that it felt really
Mhm.
good. But very quickly I realized that while I did really enjoy being with him and hanging out with him, there is a different feeling you get with people who are different from me that I actually enjoyed, not more, but like maybe at the same page, right? That
Additionally, right.
there's something like interesting about hanging out with people who might be a little different than you, but like sure, like this my other friend, he doesn't wrestle, like he might play baseball, but we could still like connect and learn from each other because there's like those differences that can kind of help us to learn more about like life in general.
Right.
And something interesting I heard was that you don't always need friends with the same interests, but you need friends who have the same kind of energy,
Mm,
friends who kind of have the same emotional state, right? For
mm,
example, I might be very passionate about X and you might be very passionate about Y. They could be completely different things, but the fact that we're very passionate about something can be
mm.
that energy that brings us together that we can kind of, you
Yeah.
know, learn from each other and kind of grow together using that same energy, right?
Right.
I could be sad about like my parents' divorce, and you could be sad that your girl broke up with you, but the fact that we still have the same emotional state means that we can connect regardless of the fact that it's a different experience, right? And
Mm.
when I
Yeah.
learned, actually, someone mentioned on the podcast, like the second or third episode, I thought that was like, it stuck with me because that's like a really interesting mindset that I guess when you're going about life to try to find like people you really want to connect with, you don't
Mhm.
always have to find someone who's like an exact like replica of you, who shares the
Right.
same values and the same beliefs and the same sports.
Right.
You can like have friends with same similar energies, and I like this piece of this friend. I like this piece and this friend. And I think one of the things I have is that I want to admire something in every friend I have. And that's not like a rule, but it's more for me to kind of be looking out for like aspects of them that I can like
Yeah.
look at and like learn from. But that's
Yeah.
kind of like my understanding of it right now.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, honestly.
Yeah. So tell me more about are you still powerlifting right now, or has that kind of tapered off or
So my lifting has been pretty messed up, honestly. First few months. So during the summer, I couldn't really power lift because I was at crunch, right? And I was just getting off competition, so I was taking a break too. So I kind of just like bodybuilded, did like hypertrophy focused stuff, right? Did that through the first, I would say 2 months of Rice. This last month has been like probably the worst in like literally since I started lifting for like lifting itself. One is like food a little bit because the dining hall food is good. The problem is like I've been lazy in the mornings for breakfast, and not just that, dinner closes at by 8 o'clock, and I'm usually up late. So what that means is like 11 o'clock, I'm like always starving in my room. Like that's a big thing. I mean, when I go back, I'm going to Trader Joe's and Costco. We have like a really nice kitchen. I'm just gonna buy a bunch of frozen stuff and like keep it to heat up at night. But so food was one thing, sleep was another. My sleep schedule has been like honestly terrible last month, like genuinely just terrible. And then the last thing was exams because I had days while I for about 6 weeks I had midterm every week because two of my classes had two midterms, which means that they were the early midterms. Then I had midterms for my other classes, and then I had the second midterms after. So I had an exam almost every single week for about six weeks or so. Sometimes more than one in a week. And the problem with that is that first of all, these exams are at night. My exams are all like 7 to 9 p.m.
wait,
So that's
really?
all.
That's
Yeah,
late, bro.
I know. 7 to
I
10 is
can't I can't do it at 7 p.m. I'll be
yeah,
sleeping.
yeah. And then some of them were like you could take them during the day. So I did some of those but not just that, it means I'm missing that day of lifting. That means like the day and the day before that I'm grinding is like I'm going to classes and then I'm just grinding for my exam. So like I'm really like I would try like getting a lift in, but like it's like sometimes like if I would go like 4, 5, 6 p.m., which is when I would usually go, like I lift, I eat food, and then I'm like dead tired. And it's like just makes studying harder. Then if I study and want to go to lift later, it's like 10, it's like 9, 10 p.m. I'm like also dead tired. So it was really, really hard. I just like focused on my exams mainly. So I really just missed so much of the gym. I probably lifted like out of the last 4 weeks, like 1 out of 4 weeks, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been really bad. So,
Yeah.
but the Thanksgiving break was a good reset. Food was good. Sleep has been better. I got a better amount of sleep. And then I have literally exactly 2 weeks. I come back in 2 Sundays. So these are just grind times. So I'm gonna try and lift and get it done. But definitely winter break will be a really good time to finally go to the gym and reset. Because I was trying to get to was powerlifting. My roommate, one of my roommates, he's a big lifter as well. He did bodybuilding stuff, right? And now he's trying to do some power building stuff. And I actually told him, "Yo, run the Jamal program with me."
Oh, yeah. I
And
remember that.
he was keen on it, but he also had a program that his friend had sent him like a while ago that he's been wanted to try first. So I was like, "Yo," he was like, "Let's do this." He's gonna run his program. He's been running it, so he's running it up until winter break. Then, like during winter break, he's gonna do whatever. And then when we come back from winter break, we're both gonna run Jamal together. So I'm actually excited because winter break is a good month to like hard bulk my way back because I've been like losing weight at Rice.
Yeah.
Also, I'm playing like flag football and stuff, so I've been doing a lot of like running and stuff. But like bulk my way back up for powerlifting to get strong because I really lost like so much strength gains. But I'm not stressed because I know it's muscle memory, right? It's weight, it's like mass slash weight and then muscle memory. So I'm not stressed, but I'm excited. So I'm gonna get back into it starting January. So that's when I'm gonna start running the Jamal program.
So are you planning on doing competitions maybe like close to springtime-ish, or what's the
That's
plan
I
for that?
mean, I was thinking about it and like honestly I have no idea because maybe I would run like the program twice and then do a competition like April, right? Then at the same time I have finals around that time. But the thing with powerlifting is like it's not like bodybuilding where you're like stress free food and stuff like that. Then again, I was thinking maybe I run it and then I run it in the summer and then I come back and like compete next winter. But also like I was thinking about it and I'm like not really hard pressed to compete right now, right? Because I've like the first time I competed is crucial because the first time you just have to like you just want to get a feel for it. So I've gotten a feel for it. I know how it is, right? So I think like competing is something that I'd be interested in, but I'm not super like I'm not looking to compete is what I'd say. I would definitely just want I want to run powerlifting kind of like for myself. I just really enjoy it. The training style and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so I'm not really looking to powerlift, like compete, but I definitely want to start powerlifting again because it's really fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, makes sense. So you said the food is kind of a problem. Would you say the food is better than Petty's food or worse than
Yeah, yeah.
Petty's food?
The food is good. The food, I'm honestly kind of sick of it. Don't get me wrong, but like I eat it like every day for like 3 months. The good thing
Because you
is like
also day student before, so you didn't have like a
yeah,
lot all the time, right?
yeah, and I would always like the thing at Petty is like I was so lucky. Like I would go to Petty, eat 3 meals, come back, and then eat like a full second dinner at like 10:30 p.m.
That
I'm
probably
like,
helped a lot of the calories, right?
it's
Yeah,
so clutch. So that's like something to get used to, right? The good thing is like there's a lot of options because each of like the serveries are right. So there's like six of them. They all have like different stuff, right? So you can kind of see what there is and
mix it
go.
up every now and then. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. Are
the
you
food is
planning on
good.
like, do you want
Yeah.
to learn to cook? Or is that something you've been thinking about at all?
I mean,
Or
I'm like okay. I could definitely get around cooking. I can be cooking and stuff like that, right? Like I'm decent at cooking. I just don't have the stuff at Rice. I
what about
mean,
time commitment, right?
there's some kids. There's one kid. He like buys like literally a full kitchen of ingredients, and I see him in the kitchen. Like he his family came for break a midterm break. He's Korean, and his family came for midterm break. He had like both his parents and like his sister, like or something like that, like cooking in the kitchen, and they made like boxes and boxes of stuff, and it's like with his name on it in the kitchen, bro.
That's crazy, bro.
There's like a thing of kimchi, is like literally like this big that he like made in the kitchen. I was like, dude. So there's some kids who do that, but it's just like also like yeah, lots of time because I don't want to be like I'm not gonna be hungry at 11 p.m. and like want to go like spend an hour cooking, right? I'm rather just like pop some like chicken patties from Costco in the oven and call it a day, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
don't you get sick of like I feel like I get sick of like frozen food very quickly, you know?
I
Like I
mean,
mean it's pretty like
like yes, but also like there's different options. Trader Joe's is a good one. There's a lot of good frozen stuff at Trader Joe's. I mean, I did a Costco chicken patty strat for like honestly like a year and like didn't really mind it because I just had
yeah.
sauce. Sauce is like the clutch thing. You got hot sauce, Chick-fil-A sauce, like look anything, and then get some like rice or pasta or something. So I didn't mind it because also like it wasn't bad. Like, I didn't mind it. I also just like wanted to get the calories and protein, so like
Yeah, it
But
makes
yeah,
sense. I'm thinking that like at least right now, like I'm not really worried about weight or anything. So because I'm wrestling, probably like
right.
winter term. I'm thinking that when I'm done with wrestling, I'll take a break for a bit, maybe like 1 or 2 years and just consistently bulk. I mean, at home it's pretty easy. I can gain like 5,000 calories a day, like no problem, and
Yeah.
make that consistent gain. I think last summer I think I put 10 pounds on last summer, right? The only challenge is like, okay, when I go to college, like what am I going to do about it, right? Like, will I be
Yeah.
able to use like the petty is hard, but I think it's still possible to go up.
Yeah.
Um, but I was thinking that I'd probably want to learn cooking because I've never cooked before or anything. But I was
Right.
thinking that this summer I can like learn from my parents and try to like get it
Yeah.
done in the dorm. But my only like it's probably a huge time commitment. That's like the biggest challenge, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
know that you have a lot more time at college and things like that. You've seen that,
Yeah.
right? With like more free time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking that hopefully I'll get enough time to do that. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, that free time, like how you been like spending that free time? Like I know that you probably just like hang out with your friends and things like that, or like, well, how have you done anything else like with that free time over the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, the thing about college is like you have the whole day to yourself, really. Like your classes are very minimal. You don't have a structure like Petty where like you know what you have to be doing every minute of the day. Like the nice thing about high school, it's way more time, it's like way more structured time, but like you know what you have to do. You just have to get it done. Like you're just in class 8 to 3, then you're like doing sports till like 5, like 6, basically, like right. So like you have like minimal like time between sports and like class and sports, like 30, 45 minutes, and then like 30 minutes between like sports and dinner, right? But like It's really school, sports, dinner, study. There's like not really like any leeway there, right? If you have days where you have less work, you can do stuff, right? But generally speaking, like especially for me, like junior year, I was like consistently doing the same thing like that. Like go to classes, go to the gym, go to dinner, study till like 10, come back, eat food, go to sleep at like 11. Like I did that so consistently. And I didn't really mind it, right? Because it's just like that's what you have to do, right? And then like obviously when you have like DMX, like off blocks, that's like kind of time that's like bonus time. Like you could hang out with your friends or you could do work, right? But it's like still structured and like a time block. At college, yes, you have classes, but like your classes are way less like time commitment. Like I have like I don't start till 10 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have 10, 10:50, 11, 11:50, 1, 2:15. And like honestly, I haven't gone to like as many math lectures. So like because a lot of lectures like are like yeah, you should go to your lectures, guys. Don't skip lectures, but like low key, some lectures is like, bro, like why am I here? Right. And
Yeah.
then Tuesday, Thursday, I have one class from 11 to 12. So it's like you have so much time in the day, right? It's really just about like making good use of it. Is time management is like the biggest possible skill, and honestly, like the one thing I need to work on, because my time management is honestly pretty abominable. Like I'm really just like if I just wake up earlier in the day because I've just been sleeping late, right? And like not even doing anything important, sleeping late, right? Like not even doing anything like out of the blue. But with the time, like right, so like let's say like a Tuesday where I'm waking up like 10:30, I'm going to class, I'm going to lunch, and then like I go to lunch and it's like 1 by the time I'm done, and then I have like nothing to do, structure the rest of the day. And it's like I'm not gonna do work from 1 to 10, but like so like I'll like go back to my room. Like usually I have like some I'll like do whatever chore I need to do, like if I need to like do my laundry or like clean up my room and fix things up, stuff like that. And like you have time, like if it's like a Champions League game, like I'll watch a Champions League game like after class. I'll go to and then usually what I do like I do that stuff, do maybe a little bit of homework. Then I'll go to the gym. By the time I go to the gym and come back, it's like what 7 o'clock. Eat food with my friends. We'll get food at one of the servers. Then we'll hang out for a bit. And then I'll probably go do work, or I'll hang out and then do work later. And then we'll usually just be hanging out like late, and like we'll just be in the common room, or like I mean I'm lucky I have a common room. Like I have a nice suite. Or we'll be at our other friend's dorm. Like because the college you can like, we'll just hang out with different kids. So we'll go to different college. We'll hang out with a bunch of people in the commons. We'll like play games. We'll watch a movie. Like, literally anything, right? On the weekdays and on the weekends, if we're going out or stuff like that. Sometimes we might go out and get food in the city. We'll Uber somewhere and get food, walk around, go to Rice Village, right? So you have so much stuff to do. Like there's literally like it's just not structured. You have to kind of manage yourself. So I would say like, the biggest possible skill, like number one that I need to work on and that people should like do with like time management, like a huge like being structured and being like efficient because you have so much time in the day, right? But like by just like sitting around like laying on my bed for like hours, like I'm just like losing so much time where I
It
could do
adds
something.
up, right?
Right?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
would you say like Petty helped you at all then? Because I mean, Petty is
Yeah.
probably the most structured I've seen like
Yeah.
anywhere, right?
No,
It
it
has that.
definitely did. It definitely did. And also I lost my like time efficient touch from Petty because I'm just like not used to having so much time to like make my own decisions, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like Petty, I'm like, I know I'm doing this and then I'm doing this. And like I was very efficient. Like I'm getting this homework done, I'm getting this homework done, I'm getting this homework done, and then boom, I'm going to sleep. Now I'm like, oh, I'll do this homework. Okay, like we'll hang out for a bit. Oh, I'll do it later, and then I'll do it later. Okay, fine. I finish like half of it, then we hang out. Like it's just like because you have so much time and you're very keen on hanging out with people and like meeting people and doing stuff because it's a different environment. You know, there's more to do. Like there's more things to see, more places to go. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But I guess I'll come with time. I'm sure like with a
yeah,
couple months ahead, like you'll keep adjusting, you'll figure that
yeah,
out.
for sure, for sure.
That's cool. So let's shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
You can take your time to think about this, but in your life, what do you think is like one of the biggest stories or anything that's really changed your perspective of how the world works? Like, do you have any like key stories or life moments to share?
Um. Yeah, I would say this is very similar to what we were talking about before about like perspectives of friend groups, right? When you have like we had like I had like like a complete like friend group reset, kind of not reset, but like a definitely shock, I'd say, in high school, and that is something that like I talked to you about, you know, and like that's something that like really like changed my mindset in a lot of ways. I'm really glad, right? Because became much more. I think I matured much more quickly, right? And I think that I became a lot more like independent with a lot of my thought processes. And that kind of birthed the mindset that I was talking about earlier, right? About um, like having your own ideas, morals, you know, analyzing decisions, making your own decisions. And like also like I would say that like another story or event. It's not. I was. I would say like it's more general, but like living next to Petty is something that like actually gave me a lot of perspective, just because like I wasn't a boarder, so I wasn't used to the whole like sleeping at school and stuff like that. But like I was definitely having a little more freedom, being able to see people so late as a day student always and hang out with people. And I think that like during freshman sophomore year, I did that a lot, and I kind of saw my grades drop a little bit, or like see like a lower efficiency because I was like spending so much time socializing. And I think that like having my own maturity to like do something about it junior year, when I was really like I told you, locked in, very structured, very efficient, and then carrying that mentality through senior year. Obviously, after I got into Rice and I had more time, like a little definitely senioritis kicked in. I was like hanging out more, but I think like making the mistakes early is a big thing that like I did that I'm very glad for now, because like gave me a lot of like good qualities and skills. So I think like a lot of people will make these mistakes and like you're like, oh, like I regret this so much. But one thing I always say is like I don't really regret these big mistakes, because if I didn't make them then and I made them now and my stuff like matters, right? It's like it's more costly, right? So I think like learning from your mistakes early is something that I learned from like socializing, living next to Petty, having the freedom to just walk the campus in like a minute or 2 minutes and hang out with people like really late. It's just like something that I made mistakes on that I kind of am glad that I made early on, I guess.
But how do you think that transition happened from like sophomore to junior year? Like through here in freshman sophomore year, you're not very structured. You're kind of just hanging out with friends a lot. So now
Mhm.
this junior year where you're very structured with your day,
Mhm.
you try to discipline yourself. You try to get your work done efficiently.
Yeah.
But probably didn't happen overnight, right? So what was
No,
kind
no,
of the
definitely not. And yeah, it's like definitely a mentality thing. I would say is like I kind of like there's a way to think about it is like honestly like think about it if it's like a game, right? Like if you're in a game and you have like a player and like you're maxing out your stats, I would like try to think like, okay, like how can I like max out like how can I be the best powerlifter? Like how can I be so more efficient in the gym and like stuff like that? Like that was a big thing actually. Like the powerlifting thing was like definitely something that underlined these, because I remember like I would try to think like how can I get protein in during the day and get sleep in to like help me lift better, because sleep I was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep by 11:30, and I was very consistent with that for a long time. And then like I remember like I would eat breakfast, like, eat lunch, eat dinner, have that second dinner, 4 meals. I would like carry a protein bar, carry a protein shake, and like split it so that like it would be like not right before lunch, so I could eat enough of lunch, or like not right before dinner. So it's like maximizing it. And then like if you think about that in a school way, right, a grades way, you're like okay, I have this test on this day or something like that. I was never like a huge like studying super way before tests. Like honestly, I'm a really big procrastinator. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely would like for homework at least. I just like, okay, like if I have this homework due this day and I know my English homework takes me a long time, let me just do all of my stats, all of my AB, all of this today and get it all done. And then tomorrow I can just lock in on one thing. So I was definitely like really good at like maximizing like time for stuff like that. Right. Obviously, definitely procrastinated some stuff, like no, not perfectly, but honestly, way better than I am now. And not that I don't know these things, but it's just like because I have like so much more time. I think like trying to maximize like your stats or something like that, right? Like even the sleep thing. Like I was like, okay, like when I'm lifting, like if I'm gonna feel tired, like getting more, I need to like get like 8 hours, like 8.5 hours, like perfect, right? And then like I would be able to like lift well, not be tired, like because then like what would happen is like a lot of times I wouldn't get sleep because I got used to like my 8 hours sleep, which was good, right? And then like it would be like second like that period after the long block after lunch on like Mondays and Fridays especially. Oh my God, I would like be sleeping. I would like fall asleep in class, and then like I would just be like, go to the gym like groggy, and like my lift would be bad, and then I'd be upset about it. I'm like, okay, why am I not being efficient about like something that's important, right? So I think like that mentality too is something that like carried over in like the sophomore and junior shit, and then that's like a gray area, right? It's like vague, but like that kind of time, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense now because I think this discipline or this structured efficiency, we can call it, was very tied to powerlifting, right? It was you kind of emerged there's a purpose that emerged, that there's this one thing I
Right,
want to achieve, and then everything kind of falls
quantifiable
in
too,
place.
right?
Yeah. It's
That's
like
that's
okay,
something I really enjoy about powerlifting is like the way numbers work like with lifts is like you can see if you're not like doing well. Like you can see, oh, I failed. This should be RP like 8, and I was like failed the third rep or like something like that. Bodybuilding is different, like especially just like general like physique stuff. Like, some days you can't tell if you're bigger or smaller, et cetera, right? But like powerlifting, you can see very visibly like the number, like, oh, this was supposed to be RP 8, but it felt like RP 6.5. Like this moved crazy. All right, ate well, I slept well, like blah blah. Like you can see the small things that have effects because there's a number on that thing versus like, oh, I didn't play well in my game today, or like something that's like not as, it's a more like it's like a quality versus like qualitative
Right.
versus quantitative, right?
Yeah, I think that's why bodybuilding is so hard. Like when I first started, like 2 summers ago, I'd be checking my weight like every day. And every
Yeah,
time the weight dropped, my mental health was just like, oh fuck, like how's this happening? I'd
yeah,
overthink like every small thing. And then like last summer, I'm like, okay, we're not doing that again. I'm not doing like weekly checks and I'm like checking different factors. And it was definitely a lot better because now I'm kind of seeing it consistently over time. And it's like,
mhm.
you're playing with the different things. And I guess you have the weight as a metric, but it's all still like so much more than just that.
Yeah. There's so much.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's why it's interesting. Powerlifting is definitely one where it's easy to quantify. And I think there are definitely ways we could try to quantify different goals and metrics, like for the podcast, like how many followers you got, like things like that, right? But it's always good to try to find some kind of observable metric that is very clear to you because it's just
yeah,
easy to reward yourself when you do well and
yeah,
also to just see that progress over time and know that you're going in the right direction.
yeah,
But going back to the piece that like this transition, right? Because I think a lot of people might relate to the version of you in sophomore year that kind of like, you're doing well, but you kind of like you know that you're not as structured as you should be, or things some of the
yeah.
things like that. But to me, it looks like the main change was the immersion of like some kind of mission that I want to get good at powerlifting, right?
Mhm,
And when that a mission emerges, or like you know that that's the thing I want, everything in your life will be aligned to that mission, right? Everything
mhm,
kind of falls in place. At the time I sleep is for the mission. The time I eat is for the mission. The time I work is for powerlifting, right? The time what I eat is for powerlifting. The type of people I'm
sure,
around is for powerlifting, right? And
sure,
then everything falls in place, and then you see the progress, right?
right.
I think it's important to have something you're working for in life.
Yeah,
I think going at it blindly that like I'm just going to school and I'm trying to have a good time with my friends and I'm,
mhm,
trying to do some good stuff here and there. Like for me, whenever I'm in that zone, I feel like life is not structured and I don't feel as fulfilled. But
and, yeah,
I noticed that when I have like a central mission or a central like purpose to live up to, then it's like everything falls in place. Right? And I saw that very clearly, like when I started the podcast, right? Like about it was like October long weekend, and I was thinking to myself, like, you know what, I want to start this because like if I'm thinking like long term, like a business I want to start in the future, whether in college or post college, and I want to try to make money online. Like I think starting a podcast was something I was so interested in. I've been thinking about all summer, but I didn't have the agency to kind of start it and actually go with it. But immediately, as soon as I start working on it, everything falls in place. Like I'm sleeping
mhm,
on time, I'm eating the right things. I can't be eating too much before I record, otherwise I feel like shit when I'm recording, I can't be wasting so much time just like lazing around if I have to record these videos and post them and improve my skill. And everything falls in place when you have a mission. So I think for anyone who's kind of struggling in that zone of like, I don't know like why like the hours are kind of just going by and I don't see much progress, or I'm feeling kind of lazy and I don't feel like there's that sense of cutting through energy in life that, you definitely have felt that probably when you're
mhm,
doing powerlifting, right?
yeah,
I think it's really that you need some kind of core purpose or mission that's meaningful to kind of
mhm,
have everything connect together.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I'd say like that doesn't have to be crazy specific, right? It could be something more general, but something. And honestly, in all honesty, I think that that's kind of what I'm getting stuck in right now. It's like I'm doing so much stuff. Having so much fun with my friends. I'm doing school stuff, but I'm not as focused. Like I'm not focused on one thing. And like gym has been a big thing for me that's kind of kept me there. But like just my lifting has been falling apart, just time wise, but also just like I just haven't had the same like drive in the gym, right? I just haven't been getting like a bit like I have less initiative, right? Because I'm not like powerlifting or not like building towards something. It's not giving me as much of a goal when I'm eating, when I'm sleeping. Like I'm not like if I was powerlifting, I want to live. Like I'm not gonna be sleeping super late because I know I want to do this, or I'm gonna be making sure I eat this because I know I want to do this, right? And like also like in high school, like powerlifting is a big one, but also just like college was a big one. Like that I wanted to like get in and I wanted to like do well, like for my not just like for my parents and like stuff like that, but like for myself, just like to prove that I can like do things myself, right? To prove it to myself. So I think like now that I'm kind of like in and I'm kind of like, less like there's less of like a weight on my shoulder to like get into college, because that really does hang over your head for high school, right? You definitely like I've definitely lost a lot of agency in like those things, and I've been being more complacent in like some of those things. So like that's really what I'm now that I've had this like kind of like this Thanksgiving break was a nice like reset in that sense that like I can go back and be a little more clear headed about these things. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's fine. I think that's normal that we cycle through these moments, right? Like I think the first time I really felt this kind of high agency zone, high efficiency zone, high discipline was probably like the junior year winter for me as well.
Hmm.
Right? Because I think at the time, like I was dealing with other problems, like with my social life and things like that near the end of fall term. And
Yeah.
what for me, I didn't have like a core thing like the podcast, but I did have a few things that were important to me, but I also had a vision for like what I wanted to see myself as in the future, right?
Mhm.
At the time, I kind of like formulated new values about like the type of person I want to. I think like we're constantly telling ourselves stories about who we are, right? And I think
Yeah.
the story that I was telling myself of who I was at the time was very like it was not the version of me that I wanted to see. And I wanted to, change the way I live, change the values I hold, and change like the vision I
Right.
saw for myself in the future. And I think that as the purpose helped everything fall in line. Plus, I was wrestling and things like that. But
Right.
then, like over the summer, like when I made enough progress and it's spring term and I'm feeling pretty happy and I feel like I've made better friendships and I feel like I've, improved myself to a point where I can like look at myself with a sense of respect. Then
Mm.
as the summer roll around, like I'm still in that zone, but when I'm at my EXP lab and I'm in New Hampshire and I'm at the workplace all day, so I don't have time to do the things I want to do at the time, or like,
Yeah.
I'm going out with hiking with my family or I'm going to the beach or like whatever, right? Like you start to like fall in that zone where like you're kind of transitioning from a place to a place. And it's totally fine that, I didn't have that same level of agency and like that same
Yeah.
level of discipline at the time. But then immediately when I found this new thing that I want to start this, it all felt like I'm back in that winter
Right.
state of my junior year and it feels good, right? So I don't think
Mhm.
it's something that if you are worried, I don't think it's like a major worry that you should have that,
Yeah.
you're fucking at university, bro. You're supposed to be having a good time, you're
Yeah.
meeting all these new friends, you're having a good time. Like that's normal, right? But
Yeah.
I think with time, maybe this winter, maybe with a little bit more time, is like you're conscious about this is how it works. There
Mhm.
might be something that emerges like, you know what? I want to start working toward this thing or I want to
Right.
achieve this thing. And then everything will click back and it's just that cycle of life. But that's the way I
Yep.
see it. But
Yeah. Definitely.
well, also I like the piece you mentioned about that this Thanksgiving was kind of a reset because
Mhm.
I felt that way as well. I think being down in Shenandoah, like I love working on the podcast. I love wrestling. I love, it's being with my friends at Petty. And I feel like my days consisted of just like these big three things, like work on the podcast, wrestling, schoolwork, and I'm just cycling through that.
Right.
I think when I was at Shenandoah, I kind of spent some time away from everything. I tried to force myself not to work in the podcast. I couldn't wrestle. I couldn't be around those people because I was with my family. And I think in that way, it kind of rejuvenated me in a bit, where it's like I come back and I'm one day and I'm already like back to doing what I love. And, it definitely feels like I'm coming at it in a new way now that I've kind of taken some time away from that. So do you also like try to do you think like Thanksgiving for you is that in a similar way that kind of reset, or do you think that you try to incorporate periods of time where you kind of just separate yourself from the day to day to kind
Yeah.
of look back at?
Yeah, no, definitely. And also like thinking about it in the sense that I'm with a completely new set of people and I've been with them for 3 months now. I've gotten used to them completely. Like being home feels like the when I first came home, it felt super weird, like being here and this is where I'm gonna be because I've just been used to my room, hanging out with people there. Like I basically live a completely different life. So I think like having a reset away from that at home, seeing old friends and like not doing work. Honestly, I was like a bit upset because I was thinking about how much homework and studying I have to do this week, but I didn't even mind the fact that I was doing other stuff and like met other people and saw friends and did stuff because like it kind of think I made me a little more focused when I go back. So I think a reset definitely is like a good way to put it in that sense.
Yeah, describe that like weird feeling like that you come home. Like what does it kind of feel like that it's so different?
It was so weird. I don't even know what it was, but I was drove back. I got home and I was like, I was literally walking around my house, just looking at stuff, like so confused. Like this feels so weird because I haven't been so long. This is the first longest I have
Did
not
it
been
feel
home.
like the last few months kind of been like a dream or something? Like how did like
Yeah,
that
it
went
felt
by like
weird. The weirdest part was calling friends from Rice, like FaceTime friends from Rice at my house. I was like, what is this? Like, I'm calling my friends from Rice. It's like a different universe. Like you
yeah.
come back to your house where like the last time I was here, I had my friends, I had everything, but my universe has expanded like double or triple the size now that I've been gone to college. So it felt super weird just like coming back here to a place where I was so used to, right? But knowing my life is just so much more different. There's so many things have changed, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
was cool though. It was interesting, but yeah.
I felt that same feeling my sophomore year because I was a day student my freshman year. So like
Hmm.
it felt like normal. Okay, I go to school, I come back. Sure, petty's a little different and stuff, but it's whatever. Thing is, my sophomore year, I bored.
Hmm.
I'm the same way that I felt from my sophomore year was like I had so much fun, right? Like hanging out with my friends, like doing all it felt like there's that sense of novelty, that sense of excitement, that
Hmm.
holy shit,
Yeah.
I'm bored and now I'm having such a fun time. I'm doing my schoolwork, whatever. And then coming home, when I came home for like long weekend, I think it was long weekend the first time I came home and it was like, what the fuck just happened? Like these last like month and a half, like it just feels like so different. I'm back at home and I'm texting my friend. It feels like it's so different, like these parallel worlds. And
Yeah.
I really feel that. It's like you kind of it opens like your mind to like there's these different like worlds that exist, right? And that
Yes.
contrast is like
Yeah. And
I
you
can
just
definitely
you
relate to
realize how
that.
big the world, like you're not in a bubble, right? Even at Rice, there's a Rice bubble. Like the Rice bubble is real. Like it is like there's a bubble. Like you're in your own world in this school because you're doing everything on campus and it's like a smaller amount of people. I mean, obviously way more than Petty, but still. Like also just being far away is a big thing. Being in Houston, that's different than like if I was in New York or if I was in like even Boston, I'd say, Northeast generally. Being halfway across the country and like South Texas and Houston is a different experience, right? You're seeing different things, meeting different people, meeting different types of people, different city. Like I'm in Houston, it's a city, right? So you're seeing different things. It's nice. I really enjoy like the contrast, but it was interesting to come back and see like Hightstown, New Jersey, like just all this normal stuff, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Did you explore Texas at all? Like also do you have a car there or do you kind of
I
just live
don't have a
wherever?
car. My roommates don't, but one of our friends from Houston, he has a car, but it's usually at his house. So we don't really have a car, honestly. I know kids with cars. I'm not like the closest with them, right? So I've driven with I definitely have driven with like five, six people that have cars at Rice, different people like for different things, generally. But I have explored Houston a decent bit, Rice area definitely. Not as much as I wanted to though, because I've had so much. You have less time than you think, honestly, because you're doing work and stuff like that, like on the weekends especially too. But I did go to Austin though. I went to
Oh, that's
Austin for the
nice.
weekend
How
with my
far is
friend.
that from Houston?
So it's like a 3.5 hour drive ish.
Yeah.
It's really less, but it was like trafficy. But it was
Yeah.
nice. It was really cool seeing Austin because we went to UT. We saw my friend had him like people he knew there, so we met his friends, stuff like that. And then we went around the city. That's definitely a lot more like young, like life, like young nightlife because
Yeah, I
of
heard about it. Austin's like a big like up and coming city, I've heard.
yeah,
Like a
no,
lot of
but
people
it
promoting
was
it.
really it's very different from Houston, but like for that weekend it was really fun to visit. I do like Rice campus way more than like UT. Like, I don't think I would like really I really would not like to be at UT for the campus just because of like my experience there. But for the weekend it was really fun like to go visit. But definitely like I'm really glad I really like Rice's campus for like living there and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. And you mentioned that it seems like everywhere you go in Texas is like a different state, right? Like where every like, city feels
Yeah.
different. Like, in what ways like do you think like if you compare like some of the places you visited?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, it's hard to gauge because I only been to Houston and Austin, but like it's like a 3.5 hour drive to the like next city. And the city is just like different in the way that like the setup is different. Like Austin, you got like a huge popular downtown area. UT campus, like West Campus, like that spans like a huge area of the city, right? Versus Houston, like you have UH, University of Houston, you have Rice, you have some other like small schools like TSU, like in the area. But like they're all smaller schools and none of them really commanding the area like UT does, like 40,000 students, where that whole West Campus area and all that stuff is you just see and we went during Halloween, so like it was really packed. But you're walking, you just see huge, so many people. It was really cool to see all these like students because you definitely like don't see that many kids at Rice. Obviously, like when you're at Rice and like, you're walking by a group of kids, like okay, like probably know who they are, or like oh what college they're from, or you've seen them before. But UT is like it's just like hundreds, thousands of kids, like just different. So
Yeah,
it was cool to see.
that was another thing I wanted to ask. Like, do you feel like you know everyone at Rice? Or like is there
The
still a sense
bubble
of
is
distance?
really it's really like closing in, like because I feel like in my grade at this point, there's like a 95% chance that like there's like no, there's 100% chance that if I meet someone who's a freshman that know someone they know. Like we have a mutual. Like I know
Okay, okay. Yeah.
100%. I feel like people I know, I feel like a lot I know of or have spoken to or have very close mutuals with like I want to say like Loki like a third of my grade, which is like 300, 400 people. That's probably dragging it. But like there's definitely like a web that like you really like talk to so many people. I mean, I have a lot of good friends. I'm acquainted with so many people because like I also just like want to meet people. So like when I'm like a group of people or like one of my friends and they introduce me to someone, I like talk to that person when I see them, and then like I'll become chill with them, and then when they introduce me to someone, I'll talk to them. So it kind of just like is branching off, right? So definitely the bubble is really starting to become real. Like you really at this point, like I know people in there's 11 colleges. I know people in every college, some more than others, obviously, but like definitely like have seen or talked to a lot of my grade. So it
Yeah.
definitely is really becoming like you kind of, it is, I don't say it's starting to feel small because I remember being at Petty where like it's like hundreds of kids.
Yeah, that's like
But
crazy though. Think
compared
about
to
it
the
then. Yeah.
start, compared to the start of the year, it is really becoming to feel smaller.
Yeah. Do you feel like where do you think a lot of the friendships you have now came from? Like was it through classes or just mutual friends? Like where like how much of it was like a natural process? How much of it was you like actively going out trying to find people? Like how would you
Mm.
describe that?
I think I honestly got like the luckiest in situation with my roommates because there's five of us. I had me and Leighton, obviously, who was my friend from Petty, so that was like obviously a given. My other three roommates, like us five plus two of our friends who were in the same college who were roommates. Oh, they're random as well. We all like are like this, and like we got so lucky that like our like we just got lucky that we were paired together. Like honestly, like I don't even know how to put it. Like that was perfect because we have our core group of like us, and we're all like we do stuff together, stuff like that. But at the same time, it's really nice because I'm like really close to my roommates, but I probably hang out with like so many other kids like for most of the time. And honestly, it just comes through mutuals. Like I had some kids I met from class. Most of the kids are just like random things like, oh, we have our orientation group, and then you have like a sister group in another college, right? So like I remember like one of my friends like had met some kids in a sister group, and then we became friends with them like 2 weeks later. And then we met them, and then we met their friends, and then we're really good friends with this friend group. Oh, then I met like this kid in the gym, or I met this kid like in my classes, right? So I think like classes is one thing. I just feel like random. Honestly, like it's so natural though. Like, I feel like everyone that I'm friends with, like just like I became friends with them because oh like I met them from this, and then we became friends, and then like I'd meet them. We were talking to someone else, and they're like, oh, how do you know Danny? Like, how did you meet him? Because it's like completely unrelated. Because I met them through like a different thing. So I feel like the nice thing about Rice, especially, is because there's so many opportunities to meet people, right? And it's a smaller school to where you can meet people and be friends with a group, and like it's not like that's the like you're gonna see them, like you're gonna see them at like a party, or you're gonna see them at this, and then like you'll talk to them there, and then you come closer. Versus like at a really big school, like USC or something like 16,000 people, like you'll talk to people, and like you're never gonna see them again, right? And like USC, like this is like me telling like my friends that I have there, or like they've been saying like yo, you talk to these people, like you see them at the gym, you talk to them, and like you go and you're never seeing them again. So it's like
Yeah.
you're not able to like kind of like grow that connection with that person or like possible connection to other people through that mutual friend.
Yeah. So
So
it seems like this mixed bag or that rice seems like the perfect size where it's not like petty where it's like, oh my
yeah,
God, you gotta well, it can't be like petty, but
yeah,
you I mean, you have that perfect balance where you kind of have the ability to form those connections with people, but it's not like a state where you're just you see people you never see them again as you
yeah,
described. So it's
yeah,
kind of perfect like what you're looking for.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Well, unfortunately, we couldn't get you in person today, but I really would be down to get you in person at some point in
Yeah,
the future if you're coming down winter break, maybe even afterwards sometime next year. But
for
enjoy
sure.
this talk. It's good to see you again. Glad
Yeah.
everything's going well, and I guess we'll leave it at that then.
All right, bro. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me talk. All right.
All right, bro. Have a good one.
All right. I'll see you.